This is the EcoMobile Ripper Pro mountain board. A board with full suspension, 6-inch air-filled tires, bindings, an external battery, a double drop-down deck, and head and tail lights. And since they call it a mountain board, I should probably test this out in the mountains. So here I am up in the mountains, and I'm curious how this is gonna do because there's a few things that make me worried. And the first is the price. This is only $1,300, which is easy on the wallet, but in my experience, you get what you pay for. A couple years ago, I reviewed a mountain board similar to this, but it was $3,000, more than double the price of this. And it was beautiful off-road. I loved it so much that I broke it. I cry now every night because of it. So I'm curious if $1,300 has the right gear to handle stuff like this. The second thing are the smooth tires. Is a mountain board supposed to have slick tires? I don't know. When I'm thinking mountain board, I'm thinking a huge, knobby, beefy tire. You don't have that. And the third is the suspension. That $3,000 board that I tested a couple years ago had articulating wheels. So each wheel had its own suspension system. You dip down in a hole, the back wheel drops, the other wheel in the back stays on top. This one does not. This has a solid axle. So those are my concerns, but who knows? Maybe this is gonna be just fine, which is why I'm out here. And if it does work for this is an awesome price for a mountain board. The first thing I want to talk about are the bindings. I've got them set to my feet so I can just slip my shoes in there. It actually holds it pretty good. And these are just like typical snowboard bindings. To tighten them, you just pull up, and then to loosen them, pull back. And it makes it much easier to carve. Just like a snowboard, you can lean back and put pressure on your feet, which helps you turn sharper. And if you want to go super crazy and gnarly, you can tighten them to where it's pretty tricky to get your foot out. I'm not that hardcore, so I'm gonna just leave it loose so I can just slide my foot in and out. So now that I'm strapped in somewhat well, I want to talk about the balance and suspension. I think the sound of the board pretty much explains it. This road's a little bit washed out. It's been raining the last week, and then cars and bikes have been on it. It's a little bit washboardy. You can hear my voice vibrating. You got some cheaper spring suspension in the middle of each axle. To make a lot of these smaller vibrations go away, I'm gonna let a little bit of air out up here and see if that goes away. That's a little bit more flexible. Let's see if that's gonna give a smoother ride. Oh dang, that is night and day difference. I was kind of hating this board because I just hate my eyeballs vibrating, but you can hear my voice is not vibrating like it was before. You know, now that I have those tires lower down, I feel comfortable going faster, and I'm noticing one thing I do not like, and that is the noise. Those motors are just screaming. You come out in nature for this. It's beautiful and quiet. It takes a little bit of the excitement of this board away from me because that's one of the reasons why I got into electric vehicles. They were just so quiet. I can enjoy the outside, and this disturbs that. Now when no one is around and you want to rip it, this can go up to 35 miles an hour, and it can also go in reverse. So when you need to pick up your camera from getting that epic shot, just double tap the power button. And while I'm thinking about it, let me just show you this remote, which I love the design. It looks carbon fiber, but it's not, although it is very light. The left button is how you change between the speed modes. Green is speed 1, blue is 2, purple is 3, and red is 4. And then this button is to turn on the lights. There's also a USB-C port, and this takes about 2 hours to fully charge. And you don't have to charge it up every time you charge the board. Now, the board's battery takes 4 to 5 hours to charge, and as you can see, it is mounted on top because it's so big. That's 25 amp hours. And they say that on a full charge, you can take a rider up to 23 miles, which honestly is a little bit surprising. I was expecting a much longer range. Now, the cool thing about this is there's 3 bolts on each side. Just undo them, unplug the battery, and you can swap this out. So in 4 or 5 years, if you begin to see a decrease in how long you can go, EcoMobile does sell extra batteries. Another thing I like that these guys did, and I especially appreciate it more as I'm going faster, is the double drop-down deck. And that deck is made from 9 layers Canadian maple and 2 layers of fiberglass. It can hold a 300-pound rider. That double drop-down lowers your center of gravity just slightly, and you need that with that battery mounted on top. Anything to lower your center of gravity, especially when you're taking it off-road, is a good thing. And I like the dynamic regen brakes. The more you pull back on that roller wheel, the stronger the brakes kick in. And they say it can recharge the battery up to 22%. I'm now coming to the place on this trail where I can talk about the thing I like least about this. And that's the smooth tires when climbing on a dirt road. They just tend to spin out, and it's not the power. This can climb up to a 40% grade, which is just a stupid steep hill. But if you're in the mountains and you start on any type of incline, this isn't very steep. You have to kind of help it because, come on. Come on, there we go. The good thing is if you can't get started, if it's too steep, too loose, there's a handle in front, you just grab and pull it up. But this does suck because the board does weigh almost 40 pounds. Now, if you have momentum, it does pretty good. I'm gonna run down there and come back up and start the climb with speed just to show you that it can climb. There's a spot where I got stuck, and this is having no problem. Yeah, take a look around. That should just give you a small idea of the type of power that you have. Each one of those motors is 3,500 watts, and it is powerful enough to get me up here. I probably climbed close to 1,000 feet. The three things I was worried about, I'm not really anymore. The articulating wheels would be nice, but it's not a must. The suspension, the deflated tires actually makes up for that. The smooth tires, yeah, I wish they were knobby, but I think EcoMobil actually has off-road tires you can put on this. I'll put a link to that in the description. And then the third thing was the price. I've done a few off-road boards. My wife has one that's just $100 less than this, and there is no way it could come even close to doing what this did. To really appreciate how awesome this board is, you gotta check out these two videos. They're both all-terrain boards. One is close to this price. The other is the one I was talking about earlier that is double this price. So go check them out. Tell me what you think. As always, I appreciate you guys hopping on here and checking out my content, and take care.